Hello my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach and welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video is of course Friday Fun Day, and so I have a really fun and simple project for us to do today. We're going to make these one-eyed monster headbands. These are great for last minute Halloween costumes or maybe a crazy hair day. I just think they're so much fun. And Stockinette here's wearing the purple one, and Stitch here's wearing the green one. And today I'm going to make an orange one, and I'm going to put it on and model it for you. They're super easy to make, and the best thing about them is they're completely versatile because they're going to be held on just with a tie. And so you can tie it as tight as you need or as loose as you need to fit any size head. Now you can find all this information on my blog, and as always I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So what you need to make our one-eyed monster headband is yarn, of course. The whole project is stitched using 2 strands held together. I'm going to be using this orange from my stash. That's kind of a melony mango orange for the main color. I'm going to make the pupil in this yellow, and then of course the white in this sort of off-white color. All of it, including the pupil and the eye, all of it is stitched using 2 strands held together of a medium weight number 4 yarn. Now I'm using acrylic. You can use whatever yarns you have on hand. Like I said, this is a great stash buster. Make something fun and silly, use up your yarns. All right, so I'm making them kind of a melony orange color with a yellow pupil and white for the eye. All right, we're going to be stitching with our J hook, 6mm crochet hook. You need a needle for sewing on the eye and weaving in your ends, and then of course you're going to need a pair of scissors. Now go get in your stash and let's see what fun monsters you can make. We're going to be holding 2 strands of our yarn together. Now I have 2 separate things on mine, so I don't have to roll them into a ball or anything. If you're using a skein, you can use the outside and the inside at the same time, or just grab 2 separate balls. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you hold them together and occasionally kind of pull it down so that we don't have any drooping or looping while we're working. All right, so we're going to begin on one side making the tie, then we're going to make the whole headband, and then we'll end up with the tie on the other side. All right, so let's make a slip knot. And we're going to start first by chaining 22 chains. I've chained 22, and this makes about an 8 to 9 inch tie. Remember, we're putting 2 ties together and we're going to tie them. If you prefer a little bit longer tie, that's okay. But if you're using this for children, I really don't think you should make the tie any longer. We don't want it to be any kind of a strangling hazard. All right? All righty. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 more. And now we're going to turn and count to the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, and stitch 2 double crochets in that 4th chain. 1 and 2. And now we're going to chain 3. And this is the way that row 1 should look. You have your 22 chains. We chained 2 more. We double crocheted in the 4th chain from the hook and stitched another one. So those beginning chains there counted as 1 double crochet. So we have 3 double crochets in our 22 chains. Let's do row 2. Our chain 3 counts as our first. We're going to turn our work and we're going to stitch a double crochet in that first double crochet. Now we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next one. Then in that last double crochet, which is our chain 3 that counts as a double crochet, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. and chain 3. So now we have 5 double crochets and our chain 3. We increased at the beginning and end of our row. All right, let's do row 3. Our chain 3 again counts as our first double crochet, but we're not going to stitch in that first one because we're not going to increase anymore. So we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And chain 3. We did not increase at the beginning or end, so we have 5 double crochets. And that's how we're going to stitch this headband. Each row is going to have 5 double crochets until we get to the end, and then we decrease down to 3. Let's do row 4. Chain 3. We don't increase, so we go into the next stitch and stitch 1 double crochet in the next 4 double crochet stitches. And again, chain 3. Whoops. There we go. So now, again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets and our chain 3 for row 4. So now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 4 for 17 more rows. That's going to get you a headband that's going to fit pretty much anybody, but if you're making it for a smaller child and you want that headband to be shorter, just measure their head and do 1 row per inch because these make nice big 1-inch rows. All right, but remember it'll fit most anybody because it's a tie-on, not a slip-on headband. All right, so we're going to repeat row 4, 1 double crochet in each, chain 3 turn for 17 more rows. I stitched those additional 17 rows, and that brings me up to row 21. Again, you might want to measure, check it against the child that's going to wear it. If you're making it for a small child or someone with a smaller head, make sure that it's going to fit, okay? All right, now we're ready for row 21. And what we're going to do is we're going to not chain 3 in our last row, or after our last row, we're only going to chain 1. And that's because the first 2 we're going to stitch 2 double crochets together. All right, so we're going to yarn over, go in that first stitch and pull up a loop. Go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops. It'll look like 8 because remember, we're holding 2 strands together. Yarn over and go through the first 3 loops. Yarn over and go through the last 2. All right, now we're just going to stitch a regular double crochet in that next stitch, and then we'll stitch the last 2 together. And so now we're back to only having 3 double crochets. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to stitch these 3 double crochets together. All right, so yarn over, go in that first one and pull up a loop, then go in the next one and pull up a loop, then go in that third one and pull up a loop. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and go through 1, 2, 3, and 4 loops. Then you're going to yarn over and go through those last 2. So that brings us to a point so that it looks similar to this end. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 20 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've chained those 20 chains. I'm going to cut my yarn and tie off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to secure the ends, okay? So we're going to tie a knot as close to the end of that chain as possible. Pushing it up there, and then go ahead and clip that off. And then we'll do that over here to the beginning chain as well. We just want to make sure that chain's not going to come undone. It could be a costume catastrophe. We don't want to lose our headband, right? Alrighty. So the headband portion is done. It really is just a basic headband with ties. Now comes the fun part. We're going to make that eyeball. I'm making the center or the pupil of my eye in this yellow. Alright, so I've got my 2 strands held together. We're going to make a slip knot. And we're going to chain 2. 1 and 2. We're going to be working in the second chain from the hook. And we're going to stitch 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move that tail of yarn out of the way. 5, 6, and 7. All right, we're going to join to this first single crochet with a slip stitch, but we're not going to chain 1 because we're going to change to our white yarn. But for the first row of our eye, you have 7 single crochets and then join to the first single crochet. Don't worry about this hole. We're going to close that up with this tail of yarn once we're done making our eye. Alrighty, let's join in our white, snug it down, and chain 1. Now we're going to place 2 single crochets in each of those single crochets around. So we'll go right in that first one and stitch 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And we'll do this in each of those 7 stitches. 1 and 2. All right, so 2 single crochets in each of our 7 single crochets all the way around. We stitched 2 single crochets in each of those 7, so we have 14 single crochets. All right, let's go ahead and cut that yarn. I know we're going to have a little bit of weaving in to do, but if you're neat enough, you won't notice it. All right, so now we're going to finish up the outside of the eye. So we're going to bring in our main color that we're using, again, 2 strands. And the reason I liked going with 2 strands is it makes it nice and stiff so that it will stand up when you're wearing your headband, okay? All right, so we're going to chain 1. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do half double crochets because they'll be just a little bit bigger to emphasize the edge of our eye. All right, so we're going to half double crochet in the first one. And then we'll place 2 half double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. Now the half double crochet is yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. And we're going to repeat 1 and 2 all the way around our eye. So 1 half double crochet in the next and 2 half double crochets in the next. 1 and 2 half double crochets. And be careful, don't do like I just did. Make sure you get both of those loops. It's easy to drop them, so you got to pay attention when you're working with 2 strands. But once you get going on it, you'll get used to it, and it'll be super easy. All right, so I'm going to continue this around, stitching 1 half double crochet in the next and 2 in the next, all the way around. I'm also going to show you how you might be able to make the white of your eye just a little bit more creepy. And just to be clear, in case I called it something else, this row, row 3, we're stitching half double crochets. All right, we're going to join to that first half double crochet with a slip stitch, and we're going to cut our yarn, but we're going to leave a little bit, maybe about 10 or 12 inches, just so we can sew that onto our headband. All right, now I'm going to go into that next loop, pull that loop to the back. There we go. That'll just give us a little bit better edge as far as the way that it looks. Okay, now we have a little bit of work to do to clean this up a little bit and weave in our ends. All right, so let's start with that center. I'm going to grab my yellow and I'm going to close up that hole in the center. We don't want a big hole in the center of our eye. I'll just bring that around. I have a bigger eyed needle, but I made sure I had one with a point because it's important to be able to, you know, get that weaved in correctly. All right, I think that's nice and secure. So I'll go ahead and clip that one. There we go. And now I need to do this with the rest of these ends. And I will tell you, if this is just for a costume, it's not going to hurt if you go ahead and tie knots, okay? Because it's not going to go through the laundry. It's not going to probably be worn that often unless your kids love to play monster, which my grandkids will probably wear this quite a bit. And if you notice, I made 3 and I have 3 grandkids. All right, so you can weave them in nice and securely or go ahead and tie some knots. It's okay with me. So my eyeball's all nice and tidied up on the back and it looks really good. I'm going to leave this long tail because that's how I'm going to sew it onto the headband. But before I do that, I want to show you something that you can do. You can grab one strand of red yarn, thread that on your needle, and make a few red splotches in the white of your eye. And what I do is I come up from the back and I just make like a little V. And then I might come over here and do it again, but only, you know, a different way. Just add some little bit of red splotches. It just kind of makes it just a little bit more creepy and fun if you like that sort of thing. And you can do single ones and double ones, however that you want to, just making a few odd red stitches. It just gives your eye a little bit of creepiness, you know. And just fill it in however you want. For a nice creepy eyeball. It's up to you. I love this one. I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to go ahead and weave this in the back. You will see the lines in the back. But, you know, it's up to you. I just think it looks fun. And I'm all about fun. All right, let's go ahead and clip that. And now my silly monster is a creepy eyeball monster. I got so excited about the creepiness that I added to the eye, I forgot to show you how to make the horns. They're really simple. We start with our slip knot and we chain 7. And we're using our main color and 2 strands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we're going to slip stitch back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now we're going to chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, we're going to half double crochet in that second chain from the hook and then slip stitch in those 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, oops, got too far over there, 4, and 5. and then tie off. Now my yarn's about out here, but you do need to have just a little bit so we can attach this to our monster. All right, let's hook them on. Now we're going to use this to sew it onto our headband. So we want to leave that kind of over to the side because we're going to stitch it on. Then find the center. Put your hook through and grab two of those yarns and pull it to the back. All right, want to make sure it's facing the right direction. And then we'll go in the next stitch. And pull it to the back. There we go. So there's our horns. And we'll just tie this into a knot. Almost looks like it has bunny ears, huh? All right, make sure that's on there nice and secure. We don't want your antlers or your horns or whatever these monster things are called. Nice good pull and clip. All right, now it's ready to go onto our headband. This part is just super simple. You're going to take the front and center it. Like mine needs to go down a little bit. You want to make sure that your string is to the side because we're going to stitch here. We'll thread that onto our needle. And we're just going to stitch across. Guess I need to pull those out further. There we go. We're going through the headband and the eye. Just making some whip stitches across the bottom. And make sure your horns are centered. And then I like to kind of flip it up and look at it. Isn't that adorable? I just love it. Alrighty, so I'll just turn it over and I'll just stitch back across the way that I came. Just want to make sure my little eyeball's not coming off my headband. Alrighty. And by using two strands, it makes it nice and stiff. I know I was talking about this earlier, but when you put it on, you want that to stand up. You don't want it to flop over on you. And so by stitching two strands of yarn, it helps that stay nice and stiff. And if you use a more stiffer yarn, the better. You got some of those scratchy yarns you don't like, use those because it'll stand up nice and tall and look super pretty. All right, it's time for me to model it. So my yarny friends, aren't these the funniest things you've ever seen? They're so much fun to wear. They're easy to wear, easy to adjust, and a great way to make a fun and quick Halloween costume with your yarn stash. Or maybe you just want to wear it around the house. I think they're super fun. UPS guy might get a shock though.